Hello everybody, this will be my video on the Cryomancer damage build. Now there are a couple of damage builds for Cryomancers, and mine is based off of crit chance. So let me go through how this works. Cryomancer is kind of the original easy mode character for Skyforge. It's one of the beginning classes, but ends up being quite powerful even compared to all the other advanced classes. Has very good AoE damage, crowd control, and single target damage. It has some mobility and some defensive options. So, one of its basic AoE skills is this, and it's accomplished just by holding down the left mouse button. Now it can set off an impulse charge, which if you have symbols geared for impulse damage, it can cause a great deal of AoE damage to a large group. So as you can see, normal mobs, quite easy to take care of. Now if we go through our abilities, the Cryomancer is ranged damage class. It's not combo based, but has some charged up moves by holding down buttons. As we can see, we have our left mouse button is Cryonic Pulse. If we hold it down, it's Freezing Gale, and that's that AoE that I demonstrated there. And then the right mouse button is Icy Thorn, and if you hold it down, you get Icy Dart, which does about the same amount of damage, except it applies a dot. It also increases the Cryomancer's chance to inflict critical damage to the same target again by 15%. And this consumes Cryogen, the right mouse button, which is your limited resource. So if we go through the other abilities, we have Glacial Fangs, which is a short cone-shaped stun for 2.5 seconds. I'm going to call it a stun because basically it freezes them. Same thing as a stun. Icy Beam is another CC, which will stun them for 2 seconds, do a little damage. Snowball is CC, just a short range in front of you. It will roll a ball and catch people in it for the time that it's rolling, and then afterwards it will stun them for a little while as well. And Crystal Shield is your damage absorption, so for 6 seconds you will get a 60% shield. All targets in a 5-yard radius are slowed a little bit, and it can immobilize them if they're slowed too many times. Cryo Beam is a line damage skill. This is part of my build. If you spec in talents for it, it can be a pretty effective skill for single target damage, and sometimes you'll hit more than one person. Whiteout is a very large AoE continual damage area. This is what makes Cryomancers so good in PvP, is putting down these big storms that will affect entire groups of 10-20 people. It will do damage and cool them, and you can put up the damage and CC on this quite a bit. So Whiteout is quite handy. Stasis is kind of a CC, kind of like sap for a rogue, it makes them immune to damage. So it's just to take someone out of a fight while you take care of their friends. And then Frost Shackles is the ultimate. It's a huge AoE 6-second stun with damage. Stronger the enemy, the shorter duration. The strongest enemies that are unaffected by it take 2 times more damage. So it's they made it useful in most situations. 9-minute cooldown. So if we go over my talents, I have damage dealt by fragments left by icy missiles is increased by twice the character's strength. So I have a strength build. So this dot from Icy Dart charged up will do quite a bit more damage for my single target taking out bosses. Now I have Gust of Wind, the range of Icy Beam, Cryonic Pulse, Icy Missile are increased by 10 yards at all levels. So this makes the Cryomancer have a 40-yard range, which is pretty much the max for any class. So you can sometimes get the advantage of just shooting over a long distance and having your enemies not be able to attack you back. Then I have Exhaustion, Cryonic Pulses charge level 1, and fragments left behind my Icy Missile inflict 110% more damage to targets with less than 50% health. So this will help you burn down the last half of a boss's health bar or finish off an enemy. 110% more damage is pretty significant, so that's a good skill there. Slide is the Cryomancer's dash becomes slide, and I demonstrated that. It lays down an AoE of ice that will slow and damage a little bit and cause you to dash a little further than most classes. Cryo Charge is the talent for Cryo Beam. It makes it consume 2 times more cryogen to inflict 3 times more damage. So 3 times more damage is pretty significant. And then, with a chance equal to Cryomancer's crit chance, apply Cryo Charge to them for 6 seconds. Cryo Charge increases damage with the next 2 Icy Missiles, level 1, 2 times, and makes them free. So if this goes off, if you hit someone with a Cryo Beam and you get the crit chance, you get tons of burst damage. You'll be able to shoot 2 Icy Missiles that will do tons of single target damage. And so this is how I burn down bosses and things extra fast. Then I have Cold Veil, which decreases the cooldown on Crystal Shield, so I can pop that more often and take less damage. I have Blizzard, Freezing Gale, inflicts 35% more damage. That's to hold down the left click. And then I have duration of Whiteout and Snowstorm is increased by 4 seconds, and intense cooling is applied every 2 seconds. So it applies the slow more often and lasts longer for Whiteout. Now, speaking of Whiteout, you can get an offhand weapon which will increase its damage by 112%, which will make Whiteout do significantly more damage, and so you'll want to put that down as often as possible if you choose this weapon. Then I have the main hand weapon, Cryo Beam, and both charge levels of Icy Missile inflict 60% more critical damage. So since I'm a crit build, doing more crit damage is just more bursts, single target, great stuff. So with amulets I tried to get Whiteout damage, Freezing Gale damage. I don't have great amulets right now. Alright, so that is the main crux of this build. If we look at my I have crit chance 47% and discharge recovery, so for the impulse charge going off on the Freezing Gale. And then the other things that really contribute to my damage in symbols are Painful Spasms, which does 200% of your character's spirit whenever something gets hit by impulse damage. So that will really increase the freezing gales damage. And Lacerated Wound is the crit, extra damage dot. So up your crit damage by about double. And then I have many other symbols, but I've gone over those before. So lately I have picked up a couple invasion symbols. So these are like extra beyond the normal symbols. From the mechanoids I have Electromagnetic Pulse and Dazzling Flare. So those are interesting if you want to pick up invasion symbols. They can add a little extra. They don't seem to go off too often. See, this does 25% more impulse damage to shields. So that's something. Most classes have shields of some kind. So I will demonstrate. I'll find the first boss on this level. So with one freezing gale I can usually take out an entire group of pack mobs. I think the boss is up there. Lucius. So I'll just drop whiteout, try to keep him within the whiteout zone. Maybe hit him with the charged up that, get the dot on him. So he's already down to half. And there we have it. So I burst him down pretty quickly. This can be great in every situation, PvP, raids. You'll want to have someone who can do tons of damage like that. If there's a lot of smaller mobs, adds, things like that, the whiteout will slow them down, make them pretty ineffective. So Cryomancer, it's a great class. If this is your playstyle, then go ahead and pick this up. And thanks for watching.